All right, this is the next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions. Continuing our retro pay-per-view review series is going to be the first annual Royal Rumble in 1988. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank. Man, let's jump right into this. This was another, I would say, brilliant idea by Vince McMahon because this paved the way. This is one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year. I love when the Royal Rumble comes around. This was and this technically wasn't even a pay-per-view at this point.
No.
This was on regular cable
USA.
USA Network, I believe.
It was
Yeah.
a USA Network special. Yeah.
Yep. And who would have thought 34 years, 35 years later, we'd still be doing this with a little a reward with it. Winner gets a title shot. This didn't happen until I say 1991 because technically with Hogan winning that Rumble, he went to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But really, it
it's
wasn't
really
until 93.
93, yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
They did it the same night. This is just Vince being petty. Crockett is doing a Bunkhouse Stampede the same night.
Yep. Yep.
On pay-per-view. On pay-per-view.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was a little dickish on his part, but that's
why I never felt bad for him during the Monday Night Wars when all that was going on. I didn't feel bad.
No, because he got the karma came back to him.
Yep.
The company he kept screwing came back and got him with his own guys.
Yeah. So,
but eventually he knew how to turn the tide, and the rest is history. So January 24th, 1988, from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Vince McMahon, Jesse Ventura calling this one. This was a pretty good card. The Rumble had it was only a 20-man at this point. There were a few little glitches, not glitches, but little what's the word I'm looking for?
Mistakes?
There were a few issues. What is it?
Mistakes. No, I was just saying mistakes,
Yeah, you can call it that. Just a few little bumps in the road with this that they learned from going forward.
Yeah, the difference is like, I think up until this point, like we had seen battle royals, but not a situation where, they count down to somebody else coming in.
A timed battle royal, pretty much.
Where one person comes in, then 2 minutes later, another guy comes in. Up until this point, we just saw everybody in at the same time.
Yeah. And
that was a cool concept.
So some of the hitches, there you go, that's the word I was looking for, were the clock wouldn't work properly. Guys, got the wrong, coming out at the wrong time.
Well,
stuff like that.
Bruce Pritchard was in charge of this, and he said
Actually.
that. Yeah, he said that it was one of. I think this is his first pay-per-view. I think he's actually in charge of producing, and he said that they were like running behind schedule, like the timing was off. So then it was a little kind of like chaotic. They would send guys out there after like a minute or a minute and a half. It wasn't exactly two.
Yeah, it wasn't
2 minutes, and they called it Titan time. Like whatever Titan time is, just whatever you make it up to.
It's Vince's world.
And they remember they did a big recap of Hogan and Andre before this. They showed what happened at WrestleMania. They showed what happened with the $1 Million Man, with him wanting to buy the belt, right? And then Hogan had to decide, and then
Hogan hulking up, telling him no.
Hell no.
No. Yeah. And then they show Andre at the Saturday Night Main Event going after Hogan, choking him out.
Right.
That's the first time Andre ever got me scared as a kid, when he had that face. My God.
That was good stuff. DiBiase buying his contract, because then he said that Andre was going to get the title for him.
Yeah, the World Wrestling Federation title. Yeah. Well, at least it wasn't the tag title,
team,
like you normally would say. Yeah.
Yeah, so
they had the contract signing for the main event during this. So let's kick it off. The very first match of the inaugural Royal Rumble was actually one that I'm sorry these guys didn't really have a feud.
Right, real feud, yeah.
They worked well in here, and of course years later in WCW we'll get to see their Iron Man match, very historic. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Ravishing Rick Rude.
Yeah, but Rick Rude was just first starting to get his heel. Mm-hmm. Kind of like his heel push, like it's he hasn't been there too long. Yeah. Bobby wasn't even there. He
wasn't in ringside for this.
He didn't come out with the robe either, right? He doesn't come out with the robe.
No,
kind of like bare bones.
Yeah, it was like you said, it was the start of it.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, Steamboat's on bad terms with Vince because not too long before this, they took the title off of him because he wanted to take time off to be with his kid, and so he wasn't really on good terms, and he doesn't stick around. He doesn't stick around too long in '88.
Shortly after WrestleMania 4, I think he left.
Yeah, so
because a year from now, he's fighting in the classic 1 hour match against Ric Flair for the title, which he wanted. So yeah, he's not long for this world, unfortunately. And I mean, if I'm Vince, yeah, I'll give it to him because I'm sorry, I see Ricky Steamboat as one of the up and coming stars.
Oh yeah,
And unfortunately, I guess Vince didn't see it that
he had all
way,
the
which is
talent in
what
the
you
world.
said.
Yeah,
Yes. And these two guys proved it in this ring that both of them
yeah.
deserve to be
Two
the
of the
top
best that
man.
ever did it. Two of the best that ever did it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, did I like the way it ended? No, but it was in typical Ravishing Recruit fashion, pulling the referee, in the way of Steamboat coming off the top rope. Rude thinks he's won by submission. Meanwhile,
Yeah, he
he
picks him up
Steamboat
on
wins by
his.
disqualification.
Yeah, he picks him up on his shoulder.
Yeah,
Like he didn't even do the rude
kind of like
awakening.
a backbreaker. No,
Yeah, he
yeah,
didn't even do the rude awakening. And then like Steamboat kind of like knocks out. Right? He was like knocked out. Not like he gave up. He was just out, or
he's just
you
out of it.
think he's out.
Yeah,
You think, yeah, like you just said, you think that Rude won, but then the referee says no.
yeah. As soon as he gets down the aisle, referee announces that Steamboat's won by
Right?
disqualification.
Yeah. So
Rude's irate. I mean, it kind of saves face for Rude right now. He didn't get pinned, but he did lose the match via disqualification because, believe it or not, 88 leading into 89 is going to be a huge year for Rude.
yeah.
Now, our next match was pretty much the last time live you'd ever see really these title belts, and I made reference to it in one in our Survivor Series review. The WWE Women's Tag Team titles, best 2 out of 3 falls match. It was the Glamour Girls, Judy Martin and Leilani Kai versus the Jumping Bomb Angels.
Yeah.
I am not telling you who's who. It's pink and red, that Vince put it.
The Jumping Bomb Angels were like the Rockers, the female version of the Rockers.
Female Rockers.
Yeah. They were doing some cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I said this in, I believe, in the '87 Survivor Series review that this match was supposed to be a rematch at WrestleMania 5, but when they did their Japanese tour, Fabulous Moolah took it upon herself to just say, "I'm running things." Tells them how the match is going to win, how it's going to end. The titles change hands back to the Glamour Girls.
Yeah,
Vince not only gets rid of Moolah, but tells them, "You guys just wasted an opportunity. This was going to be at WrestleMania. Goodbye." And that's pretty much the last we saw of the tag titles.
Yeah, that was it. See ya.
Yep, until recently. But I mean, this match wasn't bad. The Glamour Girls got the opening fall. Jumping Bomb Angels got the next 2. And they became the women's tag team champions. And like I said, unfortunately, this would be like the final time on a pay-per-view because of the whole fiasco. And do I think Vince went a little ridiculous by just squashing the whole thing? Yeah, but that's just the way Vince is. So It is what it is. Now, after this was one of the best segments. You had Hogan and Andre contract signing. And they showed us everything leading up to what will happen on February 5th on the main event. And I don't know if you caught this. I caught it and I went back just to make sure. When Andre finally graced us with his presence to sit down, and I'm surprised the chair didn't break. When he looks at the contract and looks at DiBiase says, and I quote, "Little incentive money."
Yeah. Or something like it was some fine.
So that leaning to Dave Hebner, like the twin referee thing. And I caught that and I'm like, oh snap, it was right there.
I guess, or maybe it was just that the whole like you're gonna win the belt and then you're gonna just give it to me. I don't know. I'm not sure
it's possible, but definitely you knew something was up when he said that, and then he laughed at the end of that. And of course, it took Andre forever. He's over there rocking, against the rope. Finally signs it, and DiBiase tells Andre, "Put your seal of approval on it." So Hogan goes after DiBiase. Wrong thing to do. Yeah. Hogan gets bounced off the table and thrown. It was just awesome.
Andre throws the table. It was good, but it's not like he did much, and Hogan was out.
Well, because they're showing the power of Andre.
Yeah, I know. You're trying to build Andre. No, I get it.
Even though you don't have to.
Like
at this point,
that
Andre's
point, you don't have
built.
to. It's just to sell the match at the main event.
Exactly. Yeah.
The rematch. No, it was a good segment. I enjoyed it. It was as a kid. I remember this vividly, and this is like you're scared for Hogan again. Like, can Hogan beat him again?
Yeah, like I said, especially after I saw that live, the choke in his eyes and his face, and I'm like, Jesus, he's gone to a whole other place.
And I remember Jesse keeps selling the whole thing about how Andre really pinned him. Andre should really be the champion, and Andre obviously said that too at WrestleMania. How it was a close.
There was an argument could be made that.
Well, the thing is, they screwed up
the shoulder up. Yeah.
So from what I understand, they botched it.
Yeah,
And Jesse Ventura, being as great as he is, off the
he's gonna
top of
keep
his head,
he's gonna keep throwing it out there
and
and
he
letting
said
them
it during
know.
the match,
They
So
even showed it too.
yeah,
They went
yeah,
to the
yeah. So it
replay.
were
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
sometimes accidents work out for the best,
Yep.
you know.
Andre righted the wrong.
Yeah.
He beats Hogan in this instance, and obviously tries to give the belt to
Hmm.
DiBiase. They say no, and that leads to the tournament. Why didn't DiBiase just do a finger poke of doom? Hey, why not? In any event, this led us now to the inaugural Royal Rumble match. Every 2 minutes, another entry would come in. Of course, like you said, the clock, there was some issues. And so, it was a little chaotic, but it worked. The first entrant to the Royal Rumble was Bret Hart. They already had entrants 1 and 2 already in
Right,
the
right.
ring. They changed that going forward because you kind of okay if we're doing this number wise, the element of surprise was kind of
Yeah, yeah,
lacking
yeah.
for the first
Well,
two.
this was the beginning of the early.
Yeah, they were. Thank God they worked the kinks out. It
It was
wasn't
still
like
fine,
a
fine
WCW
tuning.
disaster.
Yeah.
So you had Bret Hart and Tito Santana, and you notice Rick. I noticed too. Rick Martel wasn't in this, which I was shocked. But I mean, there were quite a few guys that weren't in this Rumble.
No, but
Again,
think about
only 20
this.
guys.
Think about this. Macho Man is about to become champion. He's not even on this event.
Exactly, nowhere to be seen.
Nowhere to be seen. You would
Why
have
not
thought that
put him
he
in the
would have.
Rumble?
He should have won the Royal Rumble
Exactly.
to
Yeah,
continue to continue to build him.
mm-hmm.
But
I agree. I mean, they gave it. We'll talk about the winner in a minute, but they gave it to him and he didn't go nowhere.
right.
So the very first elimination was Jake Roberts got the very first elimination as he threw natural Butch Reed out. Butch Reed was number 3, Jim Neidhart was 4, and then Jake Roberts was 5. Jake Roberts had he had 1.5 eliminations, and when I say the half, I mean somebody helped him
Right,
get
right, right.
somebody out. The most eliminations in this Rumble was by the one man gang. He had 5, which I thought was badass. You built him up real,
And
real
one
good.
man game we've talked about this. He was a really good heel. He was believable.
Yes, it was, and
Yeah.
I bought into it.
Hmm.
Being in the semifinals of the tournament and possibly being
Yeah.
in the main event and stuff. Yeah, it was. But when they made him a king, it all went to shit. So the next 2 guys that came in with eliminations was Don Morocco
Hmm.
had 3, Duggan had 3. Harley Race came in at number 6. Jumping Jim Brunzell came in at number 7. He actually had a half elimination. He helped. Bret Hart and Neidhart also had a half. Sam Houston at number 8. Dangerous Danny Davis at 9.
Hmm.
Boris Zukov at 10. And it took a while for the eliminations. Like they actually let the ring build up before they started
Right,
letting them
right. Yeah,
go.
yeah. Well, they had to do that.
This is where I thought it was funny because at 11, Morocco comes out, but you see Nikolai Volkov's coming out too. So now they're like fighting over who's 11, who's 12. So Volkov stood there at ringside until they finally let him go into the ring 5 seconds early. Volkov actually had an elimination in this. At number 13, unlucky 13. Well, I guess it's lucky 13 considering the winner came out and it was Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Hmm.
Ron Bass was 14. He had 2 eliminations. B. Brian Blair came out at number 15. Normally that would be the halfway point, but now this is the 3/4. Excuse me. Number 16 with 1 elimination was Hillbilly Jim. Dino Bravo at 17 had 1. And actually, I'm going to backtrack after the Rumble because I did miss one little segment.
Yeah.
We
Well,
got to
when you
talk
mentioned
about.
his name, I just remembered that. Yeah.
It just hit me, and I have it right here.
Yeah, yeah.
So my apologies for that. At number 18, I thought a guy that could have won it, Ultimate Warrior, and it was weird seeing him getting eliminated.
It was strange, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is early Warrior. This is very, very early Warrior. Yeah.
Yeah, this
pop.
is not
He had a good pop when he came
89
out
Warrior.
too. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. One of the loudest, actually.
Mm-hmm.
One Man Gang was at number 19. Like I said, he's the leader right now all time with 5, but we know that that's going to change because if I'm not mistaken, I believe Kane is still at the top of that list. With Roman, I don't know. We'll find out. And number 20 was Junkyard Dog. Now it came down the final 4 in this was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, One Man Gang, Don Morocco, and Dino Bravo, which I thought was a pretty good final 4 here. Comes down to Duggan and the One Man Gang. Duggan eliminates him. Hacksaw Jim Duggan is the inaugural Royal Rumble winner. So if he doesn't do anything else in his career, he can take this to the bank knowing that the first ever he got it.
He just pulled the ropes down too. It's not
again, it was progress needed to be made.
Yeah.
They needed to
Yeah.
fix a few things.
Working out the kinks.
89 was definitely a great one when
Yeah.
we get into that,
Hmm.
and going forward, just awesome.
Yeah, well, this was fun.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Now, the segment I missed, and again, my apologies for this, was after the Ricky Steamboat match, Dino Bravo was preparing to break the all-time
Bench
record,
press.
bench press record of
Yeah.
was 705.
Yeah.
I thought this took a little too long,
No, it
though,
was too long.
because
It was too long, and nobody cared. It's like
exactly
you had Frenchie in there. You didn't know what he was saying,
you had to
and
have Ventura get on the microphone and say,
to
"Everybody
try
be
to,
quiet," just to get
but
them to go.
yeah, because they were already quiet.
Exactly.
So then he has to get on the mic to tell them to be quiet so they get riled up
Bro, I was
because it's
falling
like, no,
asleep.
yeah, it dragged. This segment dragged.
Well, look how
Appa-
many warm ups they had. They had a 415, 505,
yeah.
555, 595, 655, and then 715 was
So
questionable.
so Bruce Pritchard explained how those were like dummy. Some of them were dummy plates. That he actually got up 535 is what he actually got up,
Mhm.
and he said that it was hard because it wasn't like a flat. It wasn't like a flat concrete surface. So
Yeah.
that the stage there's some give. So
Yeah.
it's hard for you to actually get all the weight up because it's not solid, you know? So and Dino Bravo was legitimately one of the strongest guys in the
Yeah.
company. He was a legit strong man. So I mean I thought the idea was kind of cool, but just nobody
Too
cared.
many, too
Too
many,
long.
too many warm ups. Now, granted, I know you can't just go from 400 to 700 like that, but
The
still, the
problem
segment ran too long.
the other thing is too is that Dino Bravo wasn't over, man. So
No,
like
he wasn't.
the crowd wasn't into it.
He had just came back. This was his second stint with
Yeah.
WWE. He had just came back, and I mean, even as a heel at this point, fans weren't doing anything. So yeah, this segment was just like they're
Just
waiting, like,
dragged.
okay,
It
when's
was
the
like,
next
okay,
match?
yeah, exactly. So
So
he did get it
now,
up with the help of Ventura.
yeah, that's why I said 715 was questionable.
Yeah.
And when you're watching it, you're going, oh, please God, don't fall on his chest.
Yeah.
And you see Ventura, and Ventura's like, my hands weren't there. I was,
Right.
yeah, okay, buddy, whatever.
You know they edited this too on the network. I don't remember if it's on
Sure.
the DVD or if it's on the or it's on the VHS. But Vince was laughing when he couldn't get the weight up. Vince is laughing at him that he can't get the weight up.
I'm actually going to check that out because I have the first volume of
Yeah,
Royal Rumbles on DVD.
it might be on the
I'll
DVD.
check.
I don't remember, but
I'll check it out and see. But it
yeah,
doesn't surprise me.
they edited it. Yeah,
It doesn't surprise me
I
that
don't know
Vince
why it
did
was
that.
funny that Vince was laughing though. Why would you edit that out?
He's keeping himself awake. Well, they edited a lot of
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
unfortunately. Now, following the Royal Rumble, they did an interview with Hulk Hogan,
yeah.
um, and then also they interviewed DiBiase and Andre, and
I
again,
like Hogan's interview. Is that the one? I don't know if it was the one that one or it was another one where he was talking about you can't beat the Hulkamaniacs. You know,
I
Hogan was
think it
saying
was
that.
this one. I want to say it was.
No, you can't beat the Hulkamaniacs. Hogan was always good at doing promos. I like how Ventura was talking about what did he call him? The Giant Mania.
Yeah,
It's
Giant
the
Mania, Giant Mania, something
Giant
like that. Yeah,
Mania. First he said Giant Mania, then he says Giant Mania. Yeah.
yeah.
Ventura was a
I thought it
man,
was
dude.
cool. He was
He was the man.
definitely was. Hey, if you keep watching his stuff on the network, they have to pay him. So
Yeah,
every time something with him is in there, he gets a check.
couple dollars.
Well, it's something. But yeah, this was again the interviews, the post interviews of it was a really good build up, leading again to February 5th. Excuse me. Um, Now the main event, well, I thought should have been the Rumble, but again, progress being made in this. This is a work in progress. Well, I should say, it's a 2 out of 3 falls match
Another
between
two
the
out of three
youngs
falls match.
always back then, and
Yeah,
I really do like them. I think they're cool.
yeah. If it's the right team.
Yeah, I remember in the house shows in the early '80s, they used to do the best 3 out of 5,
Oh, geez.
and that was a 10-man tag team. And Andre, it used to be Andre and Rocky Johnson used to be the ones that were in there predominantly the most. You'd have a 10-man tag and a best 3 out of
Yeah.
5. That would close out the night. So this was the Young Stallions versus the Islanders, and this match wasn't bad until Paul Roma gets hurt. Then all of a sudden, you got after the first fall, because the Islanders got the first fall because of a count out. Roma couldn't get back in there. They send them away for 20
But
minutes.
but you know what happened? They had to kill time because there was still time remaining on the
They
show.
were ahead of the schedule.
They were ahead of the schedule because I guess they had botched timing with the Royal Rumble. They thought they were behind, and then it was a mess. So they had to kill time. So then they send them away, and then they have Andre's interview,
Yeah.
right? But then you see the Stallions in the ring, just like you see them in the background, like waiting, like
Yeah. We would just, any
right,
day now. Can we start the? And then, of course, Jim Powers tries to start the matchup, but it had to be Roma. And you could tell Roma, whether this was legitimate, I don't remember if it was legitimate or storyline. His face he looked too much like he was in pain too much for it to be a storyline.
I don't know,
But
I don't know, I
it's
don't
hard to
know
tell
what it
back
was.
then. It's not like,
If he did a
now where
great
they
job,
throw the
listen, if
X's
it,
up.
yeah, I mean, maybe he did a great job of selling it. I don't know, maybe it was legit. Who knows?
I
But
do know that it was not too long after this that Paul Roma had stepped away. So I think it was an injury because then it was just Jim Powers by himself.
yeah,
I think it was by the end of this year, by the end of '88, that I think injuries caught up to Roma. So they continue the bout. Second fall goes right to the Islanders, and during this segment they're talking about Matilda and the British Bulldogs, and then I'm like, okay, if we've got their feud going, why are these two teams fighting? Like where are the Bulldogs
it's
on
kind of
this thing?
weird, right? It's kind of,
Where's the other half of the tag champions? Martel, he's not on it. Like you
I
said,
think
where's Randy Savage? Where's the Honky Tonk
I
Man?
think I think Bruce Pritchard said the reason why that happened is because they were running these different house shows. Like these guys would be in this town, these guys would be in this town. I think
Yeah,
maybe those guys were working in another town the night before, and the Royal Rumble was kind of like a last minute thing. Because I think that was supposed to be just a house show because it wasn't even a pay-per-view. I
no,
think they
yeah, it was
turned it
just a
in.
regular. It's
I
like a
think
primetime wrestling.
I think that's what happened. They had already had stuff laid out for different towns, and so that's why the card is not stacked the way that it normally would have been. I think that's what happened.
Because the roster in '88, I mean, you got a good
Yeah.
Royal Rumble pay per view with that roster.
Yeah, it seems weird.
But yeah, like I said, you're Intercontinental Champion, one
But hey,
half of your
man.
tag champions. We had Bret Hart. At least, he
Yeah.
started it off,
But hey, the
and
young,
at this point, he held himself for a long time
yeah.
in this.
Well, dude, the young Stallions got a main event. They can say they main evented a Royal Rumble,
A major, well,
a
not a pay per
major.
view
Well,
yet.
yeah, it's not technically, but
Can we even call it pay per view now? Because
mm,
now they changed it over to
they still call
PLE.
it. They still call it pay per view.
Now they're using premium live event. I don't like that. I like pay per view.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
old school, man.
yeah.
They say pay per view back then. I'm saying it now.
This was okay for the first Royal Rumble. It wasn't bad. They had some good stuff. The Hogan Andre thing was the big, I guess, selling point of this.
It
The
was,
contract
yep.
signing, and it was decent. It wasn't bad.
Like I said, this
They get
became
better.
one of my favorite pay per views
Hmm.
of the year. And 35 years later, we're about to have another big, massive one this year. So I mean, who would have thought that it would continue to
Hmm.
be as popular? Now, I mean, they had just done the inaugural Survivor Series 2 months prior, and now you're kicking off another one
Yeah.
with the Rumble. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah. All right. You guys let us know what you think. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care.